The little slot that could, a slight tangent, is coming at you. Very happy to say, in studio we have Mick McCarthy. Michael, you're very welcome.
Hello, Joe.
Arthur O'D is here.
How's things, Joe?
And Ronan Mullen is there. Hello, Ronan.
Hiya, Joe.
I was just debating with Ronan. If you're watching visually, I mean, radio, you don't need to worry about this, but you can imagine. So the three of us are over here and Ronan's over there, and he loves a good Butch Harmon stare down the camera lens and ignores us as we're talking to him. So in effect, we look at the side of his head, and I was saying, give us a bit more eye contact.
I feel like the broadcasters in Dodgeball, you know, when they're right down the bar of the camera talking to the audience, so we'll see. I'll mix it up this week, I think.
Look at me when I'm talking to you. So lots of comments in on this slot. Surprisingly, like, not just lukewarm, but people really enjoying it. I was just going through the YouTube comments from last week. So really nice. We really appreciate it because, I mean, this was very much just something we thought we would do for a little bit of the summer without the football. And people have said, no, keep it going. And look, we'll have to figure out its place. I still think it's on thin ice because when the rugby comes back, we'll be doing rugby at this time. So I know you don't like me...
But it doesn't really have a day. Here we are on Monday, we were on Wednesday, we were on Tuesday. We'll find some time for it. You know, this is all part of the master plan, Joe.
Do you want some of the comments from last week?
I do.
Paul said, love the segment. Similar to the news round chat, but more drawn out with interesting topics. Fair play, lads. Thank you, Paul. James Cook, this is a great segment. Stop worrying about the name. Although another person said this segment should be called Off the Cuff. And then Garage Hughes, lads, this is easily my favourite section you do all week, alongside the pay-per-view. Hope you keep it up, even as the football fixtures ramp up. And Shane O'Keefe, I love this slot, and I want it to be kept even when the soccer and rugby seasons are at full throttle. Tony Kay, I couldn't tell if this was sarcastic or not because I thought it was OTT. He said, this is my favourite new thing. I count down the days till a new video. Please keep it up.
Well, I hope he didn't
come early this week.
Did he miscount the days because he was probably anticipating Wednesdays? So
this is going to blow Tony's mind.
Sorry, Tony.
And then a particular favourite comment. Does Arthur have anything positive to say about anything? What does he watch or enjoy? Perhaps it could be a topic next week. And somebody responded, he's burdened by education. You're too smart.
Arthur O PhD.
I think the world's a tough place if you're too smart.
That's nitpicking.
Mm-hmm. So
do you enjoy anything?
You can't print that.
He got that. No, look, that. I don't understand that, though. That's not to take it too seriously for the man commented on YouTube.
But you have nothing positive to say about his comment.
But like, I didn't think I was overly negative.
Last week?
No.
Not overly.
Oof, that's a pregnant pause.
You were you.
Jeez.
You did you.
What does that mean?
I can't remember what we talked about last week, but I'm sure Arthur disagreed with it.
I don't think you're overly negative.
No.
You're the
He's
right
just the disagreeable sort, which is what we want.
We're just trying to get a bit of spark. You just can't sit here, all four of us, agreeing with one another.
I'd agree with that, yeah.
I see you as a very gentle soul, not a negative person. Gentle, would that not be a word people might throw at you?
Graeme Souness wouldn't like it.
Yeah. So, exciting times. We have a few things to talk about. By the way, Paul O'Donovan, most underappreciated Irish sports person. We've a bid in to speak to Paul and Fintan McCarthy. We'll hopefully get the two of them on maybe at some stage over the next week or two. And somebody wanted to ask of Jamie Clark. He signed with Newry. Who is Ireland's most talented / versatile sports person? His text that's just come in hot off the press is 53106. You'll get us that off the ball on Twitter as well. Exciting times as we get going here. Mick decided the slot needs a sting. These are important in that they help land the slot with the listeners, stick in the mind.
Maybe, yeah.
How much work have you put into this?
Sure,
Considerable.
Or so, yeah.
Okay, all right, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Well,
maybe a couple of hours actually.
Couple of hours.
Yeah, maybe. I'm trying to go through my work day last Friday. Yeah, no, a couple of hours.
Well, without further ado, it's time for a slight tangent.
Just a slight tangent on that.
This is far too much of a tangent. Just a brief interruption.
Can I also say one more thing on this?
But we also need to impose some rules. Like, we can't just have 20-minute tangents over a text.
Come on. That's just refusal to consider the circumstances. We're not going to entertain that, Joe.
This conversation is not a good one, I think. Do we argue much?
No, we keep them inside.
Fester.
See, I thought this was a ridiculous text until I read the top three, and then I thought, you know what? I'd actually debate that with you. It is an interesting... Sorry, it's not an interesting question, but...
Let's make that clear.
I love the sound of a snooker referee counting up the score.
We're back. There we go. Oh, full marks. Very good. You didn't have much to work with and you made it happen.
I had no earphones for that, so I didn't know what parts you were laughing at.
Oh, no, it's good. It's good. I was laughing. For sure. So the weekend that was, I guess, if we were gathering together, which is kind of the aim of this slot, we would be talking about the weekend's football. There was like a high point for the disingenuous media comments. It came at full time at Stamford Bridge. You hate to see these scenes, ugly scenes. Hate to see them.
Yeah, personally, I love to see them.
So does everybody. Even the person saying that at the time loves to see them. The excitement in their voices, they say, "Oh, you hate to see this happen." Suggests they're quite into it.
Quickly, Jamie Carragher as well comes down afterwards to get to talk about it again.
Yeah.
It's like, as I said in commentary. But like, it's just, it's fantastic. Even the people involved love it.
I think Jamie Carragher hadn't even finished his sentence, the pretense that he should be offended by this before saying, "I love it."
Yeah, I did. Thomas Tuchel, I thought, struck a lovely tone afterwards, bemused at Jeff Shreves trying to stoke this.
This is why you're here, Jeff. I'm just cutting out the middleman, getting straight to it, and Jeff trying to stoke flames that have already been stoked.
I was going to say, I didn't think there was much stoking needed. Like, it was fairly vicious. It was Matt Doherty I felt sorry for, stuck in the middle of it all, looking around, there. Sort of looking a little bit bemused.
What about poor Cesar Azpilicueta trying to be brokering peace?
Do you think that's what Azpilicueta was doing?
Well, apparently not, because Conte was giving him the
I thought Azpilicueta was here. I know you shouldn't have done that.
I thought Tuchel afterwards was right to turn to Shreves and go, "It wasn't that bad."
No.
Nothing. He said nothing happened, and kind of nothing did happen. It was much ado about. This was not Galway against Armagh.
Well, there was a still at one point of Conte realising what Tuchel was doing to his hand that looked like he was in the most pain I've ever seen a human being in. Now, if you watch the entire video, maybe it doesn't look too bad, but that one still where he's looking down at his hand and realising what's happening, he looks like he's in absolute agony.
It was where Shefflin went wrong. The look of surprise and horror on Conte's face. So we had the Tuchel-Cody grab and the hold, and then Conte reacted like he'd been shot, frankly.
Yeah, without doubt. The Italian in him came out for sure. Like,
look! That's amazing. You do that to me.
Yeah.
And then squared up to him. And I would back Conte.
Oh, yeah, he's a killer.
Like, I would. Yep, there you go.
Oh, Conte's a killer. Yeah.
I think Froch Groves is the zenith of the genre.
No.
I think during The Gloves Are Off, which I know you're a huge fan of, Joe.
Who presents that again?
Johnny Nelson.
It's just such an awkward piece of television, isn't it, though?
I suppose when you're trying to...
Have you seen this?
This is the boxing...
It's where Johnny Nelson, and they all sit on the chairs where they turn them around like an 80s American high school, so they've got the backs up against, they turn the chairs around backwards, and the three of them sit there, and there's Johnny Nelson in between them, and the two boxers are there, and he gets them to say mean things about each other back and forth.
But this one was genuine, sold itself. In fact, I think it might have kicked off this format in many ways. Like latterly on Sky Sports, I mean.
These two really didn't like each other.
Now they just do it with everybody, and it is a little bit false. But Groves goes for the Tuchel move, and Froch just immediately turns the tables on him, almost literally drags him across the table. So we can all have a bit of a pull and a push.
Did you tweet this?
I haven't seen this.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I've seen this very recently.
Like that.
Like this
I'm
morning.
not exaggerating when I say the fight was won there and then. There and then.
But I love Tuchel kind of which is just... It's funny, we're in the media, and I just hate the media. I just spend my weekends hating the media. Like,
you're an outsider.
Well, yeah, see, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy, because like, I'm as guilty of it as anyone. But like, okay, I get Jeff Shreves have to do his job and he's asking the questions. But like, Tuchel struck a lovely line of, come on, like, it's emotional. It's not a big deal. Like, these things happen. And he was smiling. He was like, come on, that's why you're here. It's great. It's fine. There's no biggie. And I thought it was such a great way for...
It's interesting you say that. I'm looking at it thinking... Whatever, maybe that's fine in retrospect, but like, he completely lost control. He got a red card. Like, it's like he's going to be banned from the touchline. I think it's more than fair to ask him. I actually don't think it's blown out of proportion. That was a pretty, like, I don't think you hate to see it. I don't think, I thought it was all very funny.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was a fake talking point.
Oh no, you got to ask him about it.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right.
And I don't even mean from Jeff Shreves' point of view. I mean just in general. I'm saying like, Tuchel, like... and Conte eventually, but I feel like Conte was a little bit more provoked. Like, completely lost the head.
Yeah.
In a way that I think is worth remarking on.
No, totally. Sorry.
As in his role as Chelsea manager and what's going on there, and I don't know. Like, I mean, again, bloody hilarious. Like,
I retract it. Actually, you're right.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
I completely won this argument immediately.
Hands down. Like,
right. Okay. That's not how this thought's meant to work, is it?
No, I totally.
Fight me, Joe.
No, you're absolutely right.
No, I think it's when Shreves went back for a second bite and a third bite, and Tuchel's already said his piece, and it's like, you've already got your flashpoint, you don't need to recapture it again.
Actually, I agree with that now. You're wrong. Am I impressionable?
Welcome to Joe and agreeing with people.
So, by the way, the other great disingenuous media comment, match of the day, a classic for it. where we really have to give Brentford credit here.
They're the story.
They're the story.
the story.
They should be the story, Gary. But now let's quickly get on to Manchester United.
I saw they were getting grief as well. I think Glyn Lineker and Mark Chapman,
Right.
for slightly tongue-in-cheek kind of taking the piss out of the classifieds being gone.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who's... It just seems very small time, but it's both of them, I think, kind of got a lot of heat for it. A little bit of heat, who knows?
Right.
It's in the Telegraph.
Right. I missed that. I mean, the classifieds... fair enough.
It is funny though that Brentford almost did too well. So if you go into United, like this is the greatest moment in Brentford's at least history that we can remember, right?
Sure.
In our lifetime.
Yeah.
They hammer Manchester United 4-0 at home. Their new stadium, like it's amazing. They're 4-0 up at half time. Those people will never have more fun than they had on Saturday evening, right?
Yeah.
But United felt so low, and it became such a remarkable date in their history that Brentford are never even going to be remembered. It's going to be, do you remember the time United lost to some Egypts? Or like some no-mark team who'll probably end up finishing about 8th in the league this year.
Yeah.
You know? I do feel like that it's almost like it was too good. It's just that it's that one goal too many that's almost going to take it away from Brentford and push it all onto Man United.
Oh, I hope you're wrong. Like, I do vividly remember Southampton 6-3 and Newcastle 5-0.
no.
It's maybe in that. Like,
But I suppose, yeah, but Southampton beating United 6-3 is a punchline on Southampton in a way.
is it?
It's like, how do we possibly lose to Southampton of all teams 6-3, you know?
Yeah, and Brighton just did this to Manchester United in not dissimilar circumstances a couple of months ago. That, at the time, was seen as a team that had down tools, and now, in theory, this is a team that should be retooled, and it looks even worse somehow. And, like, I posited a few weeks ago in the news round that the first Monday Night Football, Carragher would be doing a little diagram on why Lisandro Martinez is not going to work. Lo and behold, anyone who called it
You
there...
actually I've been thinking about that a good bit. I've been
like,
calling that a lot
how
about the
I know
smallness of...
Like, the superficial nature of it, he's quite small.
Yeah.
Let's target him. And Brighton, like, there was all these stats being thrown around by those taking the opposing view that he had the most cross interventions in the Dutch league last season and most headed clearances. But that's different in a league where you're not going to be targeted, where very clearly the first thing Brighton did was target him. Then Brentford saw that route to victory and copied it. And I feel a bit sorry for him, because if United's transfer business ends today, what was it, upwards of 55, 60 million, and as a proportion of their spending in the summer, it's a huge amount. So he's technically their marquee signing.
It's the 6th most expensive signing of the summer in the world.
And he's made them
Worse.
arguably weaker.
He probably will go into midfield.
Let's just give Harry Maguire, who, like, let's give him due stick, because it feels like he's reached such a low ebb that he doesn't get enough criticism anymore. But that was actually arguably his worst performance the other day.
But do you not feel like that Harry Maguire's greatest skill is not being mentioned in the analysis of a goal because he's actually so far away from the play? You know, he has this kind of amazing ability to sort of drift off where the play is, and then whenever you see a replay of a goal, Harry Maguire is somehow in like 12 yards of space in between where the ball came from and where the ball ended up.
I still feel like he's getting a lot of criticism.
Yeah.
Stick his name
But
to Twitter.
I think merited, though. Like, it's almost
Oh,
as
sure.
if...
But Martinez got criticism for being small for Ben Mee basically scoring with a sliding header that I'm not sure was much to do with Martinez's height.
I thought that was silly because, like, Ben Mee was falling over and Martinez was falling over.
Yeah.
Like, Ben Mee
The ball
headed-
was basically at knee height.
Yeah, when he headed it.
Yeah.
So that was daft.
I think
And
he's tall enough for that, like.
yeah.
For all that Ronaldo gets criticised, and we don't know what's going on in training, but when they went 2-0 down to Brentford, Ronaldo was going around the players saying, we'll just get one more back, get one more back. Whereas Harry Maguire was sitting cowed on the halfway line waiting for the game to restart. You're like, that's not captain material.
At the same
and
time,
increasingly letting him keep the captaincy, which at the time looked like backing your £80 million centre-back and hoping that he can rejuvenate himself. Rather, that looks like a dereliction of duty or responsibility by saying, I don't want to cause a stir by stripping an England star of the captaincy, when he's clearly not fit to be Man United centre-back, let alone captain.
Look, he's had some bad moments. I mean, even lining up on the wrong side of the tunnel on the opening day of the season was a low point. David De Gea was like, we've done this 1,000 times, we're over here.
And then he tried to walk into the Brentford home dressing room the other day.
Okay.
Man, like, not great decision making.
I give you all that, but the whole Ronaldo rousing the troops, I'm not
At
buying
least
for a
somebody
second.
was doing something.
But with him, it's so performative because even against Brighton at Old Trafford, where he's on the bench, and there's no big screen at Old Trafford where he could be seen, he starts doing the old lift the head stuff when they concede.
No, everything is for the camera.
Purely for the cameras. That is not aiding anybody on the pitch one bit. That is look at me. And he, as brilliant as he has been, he is a look at me merchant. And that is all that was after they conceded the goal. That was like, he was like, some idiot in the media is going to be like, did you see Ronaldo trying to rally the troops? And you just...
You're that idiot.
I'm an idiot.
So
No,
when
I'm joking.
Terrell Malassi looks around like, what? Look for some guidance from a senior player. Harry Maguire's there with his head down, wanting the world to swallow him up.
Yeah,
At least
I give you
Ronaldo's doing something.
That
Okay,
move
I
was
give,
really
I
good.
give you that. I give you that.
Regardless of it, it was like it shouldn't be Ronaldo either. I don't think you can reward someone just because he G's you up for missing pre-season because he wants.
These
out
are,
of the
by the
club.
way, these are basics. Like in any level of football where you go 2-0 down unexpectedly, it's like, come on, let's like rally around. Like someone go down injured and let's kind of regroup. Who's leading the charge there?
It's amazed they didn't stem that flow at all with even just an injury.
And then your senior player, your highest paid or one of your highest paid players is at fault for the 2 goals, doesn't help either.
Do you feel like Ten Hag's getting away with it?
Yeah.
Like I do.
Getting away with what?
Okay, well, here's what I think, right? They were absolutely destroyed against Brighton. How that match ended 2-1, I don't know, right? I thought they were, I thought, like, from about the 8th minute on, Brighton looked like 3 times a better team than Man United, right? But they were exposed down the left-hand side of defence, in particular with Martinez and Shaw. How they came out and played that game, they changed nothing in a week. I'm sorry, I know he's only there now, but like that's the basics of football management, especially these days. You're talking about a sophisticated league without getting into it and the 30 years crap and all the stuff this year. It is the best league in the world because it's obviously all the top managers are
Our
there.
league.
And Thomas,
Call it our football.
the Barclays Premier League is the best league in the world.
But like I can forgive Ten Hag for coming into this job. Like maybe I shouldn't forgive him because it's such a basket case. But like not thinking I need to just win now and hold on to my job. He's trying to recalibrate things, like systemic way of playing, which several managers have tried to do and failed. So like to go out and go 2 banks of 4 against Brighton or Brentford would seem counterintuitive and almost admitting defeat before he's even got going. Yeah. I know what you're saying, like when a game's going a certain way.
But he's not spotting basic problems. So obviously that's like
And he's created one.
Thomas Frank did the interview after the game where he said Brighton targeted that, had great success, so we said we'd give it a go. You know, and that's like a good manager. But again, it's basic. You know, like you figure out how to exploit the opposition. Manchester United shouldn't be in a position where they're allowing teams to do that without, like, they took off both of those players at half-time. Why didn't they do it after 20 minutes? Why were they playing in the first place? You know, I know these are basic, making a substitute after 20 minutes would seem rash, but they were 2-0 down.
But he only has, like, he's been in there. I can't understand that. He's been there weeks.
Yeah, he's been there,
Over pre-season.
Right, but pre-season he had, that was mired in him, as you were talking to Miguel earlier, having to be way more involved in transfer stuff than he should have been done, and also just everything coming together. He's still it's weeks. It doesn't matter what job you're starting. The first few weeks of it, you cannot be expected to come in and just land on your feet to the team he was coming into.
But he shouldn't be aware enough of an issue where, don't get me wrong, an overachieving and really well managed team like Brighton, but ultimately talent-wise a middling team, completely dominated them and exploited them in this regard. He isn't expected in a week in between those games to adjust something, anything. The only thing he did was drop Eriksson back in from false 9 to 6. And I hate talking about football in numbers, by the way. Sorry, anyway, I just did it. But you can't. Sometimes you have to go with what the
defensive midfielder.
They brought him back to defensive midfielder and brought on an unfit Ronaldo because you couldn't possibly leave him on the bench.
I suppose it's so worrying.
That's all he did in a week. Surely that has to. Surely he has to be.
In a week, though. It's not all he did in a week, is it?
Right,
we know he's
what
not.
What else did he do?
We don't give these
4-0 to Brentford.
Don't give these people enough credit. All the same, these are highly intelligent, highly capable people.
Yeah,
they are working. They are doing things. It's not paying off. And I know we said things, but you've also said it's the best league in the world. So it would stand to reason that a team like Brentford, that are extremely well organised with an extremely capable manager, or a team like Brighton, likewise, could exploit a team that is clearly on its arse in terms of where it needs to be.
Yes.
So it's not that like the same way that Liverpool last year put 5 on Rangnick's Man United or whatever it was. It could have been 10 if needed be. It's just a case of grades. So Brentford aren't Liverpool, so they can't do that. But Brentford, in that situation with what they're capable of doing, it's perfectly reasonable that would happen.
Yeah.
If it's still the case in 3-4 weeks from now, even maybe 2-3 months, you'd go, well, this is something seriously wrong. But I don't think
I just feel there's an awful lot of free passes, and I thought Neville, like, you know, bringing it to the owners, like, he's not wrong in anything he says, but it doesn't excuse the fact that this is a team of, on paper, much more highly paid, more highly recruited, everything. You know, this is a better team than both Brentford and Brighton, but they don't play anything like it. They're playing like one of the worst football teams I've ever seen in my life. That has to come on to the manager, no matter how new he is, and the players. It can't all be about the Glazers.
It was with Redknapp and that. Like, again, this isn't a world-class team that have beaten them 4-0. It is Brentford, and like, they can't get a free pass because the ownership is so bad, you know?
I know Joe and Ronan, you'll have watched more United. I know Mick, you'll be watching Villa with that team. But like, you've seen them in the last few years. They're appalling.
Yeah,
it's like, this is again
hard to see Man United games.
But you know what I mean. Like, if you're actually sitting down to watch it, like, they're appalling. I think people are underestimating how low a base he's starting
it's
from.
Bad. I have a pang of guilt, by the way, with my Ronaldo idiot in the media comment. It didn't get the laugh I was hoping straight away from you. You looked hurt as opposed to roaring laughing, which was not my plan.
Well, I didn't see
I've got nothing but love for you.
I didn't see where you were going until the shot landed. It was like a sneaky body shot. I was like winded down for 10.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it that way.
Point well made.
The Neville Redknapp exchange has kind of caught the imagination a little bit, and I wanted to see what you guys think, because I was sort of, it happened as well, if you remember, with Carragher and Souness, when Carragher was talking about Lukaku, and he was saying like, oh, Lukaku just stood up there for Chelsea, and Souness said, oh, that's harsh. And you could see, well, I would throw it out to you guys and see what you think. I thought it was the case with Redknapp and Neville, and I thought with Carragher and Souness. When Souness said that to Carragher, you could almost see Carragher sit up as if this is the bit that's going to go viral. And like, this is the 3 or 4 minute bit that's going to be clipped and be everywhere on Twitter. And I think the same was happening with Redknapp and Neville. It's sort of an extension of our conversation last week, which was like how the internet is changing everything. And in this instance, I guess it's those punditry moments. And it was like Carragher straight away sat up and went back at Souness in a quite a strong way. And Redknapp with his, look at me when I'm talking to you. It's like they realised these are going to be the big moments I can't lose. And if you saw the recent Connor sketches where he caught the Keane, I mean, this is real, you know, this is going beyond the line a little bit, but he caught the Keane Carragher like row in the Connor sketches, and it's how they just start throwing shots. You're like, he's an idiot. Like, no, when did you win the league? All that stuff. I think that captures something about the atmosphere in those punditry stages now, whereby you can visibly see the wheels turning. Oh, this is the moment, and I don't want all the comments underneath to be like, X destroyed him, Y destroyed him. And I think we had a few of those moments over the weekend. Certainly that Redknapp one. He's obviously noticed Neville, if he doesn't like what you're saying, he does the all and looks away. It's like, I can't even listen to this guy, he's so dumb. That's what I'm letting the viewer know. And Redknapp was like, this going viral, I can't let this happen.
No, because
and he went nuclear.
Neville prefaced it by saying, we've already talked about that, as if to suggest what Redknapp's saying about the players not trying hard enough, that's kid stuff. Anybody can point that out. Now the adults are talking, so just stop talking for a second, Jim.
I genuinely thought there was such a lack of respect in it. It was like, there was a fight that Neville's like, I'm playing chess here, and this Egypt doesn't even know the rules of draft, and he keeps shouting in my face, and I just want to pretend he's not here.
I was like, oh, 4-0's a bad result, Jamie. Yeah, good.
I can see why he'd be aggrieved and aggravated, and I can see why Redknapp felt the need to say that. I'm sure he regretted it almost immediately.
Did you think so?
It's become the punchline now. It's like, although
Sky were the ones who led with it, though. That was it.
They love it. Like, it's incredible content. It's getting a gazillion eyeballs. But do you? Is that what I've described there? Are you sensing that they recognise the moments? I can't lose this moment. This is about to go viral.
I suppose it'd be impossible not to, because it does seem an awful lot like everything's set up. It lends itself to that.
Yeah.
So it really, and they kind of know exactly. I think now they kind of really know what they have in terms of, they really have all these different opposing characters who have their own sort of approach, their own personalities, and we're kind of really getting to know them. And it just, I don't think it's contrived in that way, but I think the whole setup really lends itself to just, all right, we know what we've got to do. Yeah. And it's not. I think that the football lends itself anyway that it'll get loads of interest, and all these people will just say things that get a load of interest. But I don't know, because I don't know what it's like to be on the television. So I don't know what it's like, and especially like with those kind of numbers, when you know that many people are watching you, I presume the way they are and the competitive element within them,
there's definitely a competitive element.
Because at 7 o'clock or something's going to be going viral. So
it can't be me being.
Where do you want to be in that?
Because I think they sense, there's no value in me making a really good point in 9 minutes' time.
Yeah.
I've got to make it now because this is the bit.
Finish him.
And in a few weeks, a slight tangent.
Yeah.
You're going to recognise those one. We're going to be doing it to each other.
The Carragher-Lukaku one, the way it developed, and you kind of pointed it out, was like Carragher was making almost a nothing point.
I didn't see Souness coming with that.
Yeah, it's like Lukaku. I thought everybody was on board with the notion that Lukaku wasn't. I think someone put it very well, but the dynamism of Chelsea's opening to that game, Lukaku's just not getting involved in that. So like I think that's an accepted point, unless you're Graeme Souness, who's like, you can't say that about Lukaku.
That's unfair.
He didn't just stand up there.
Yeah.
I think Carragher meant it relative to the way Chelsea were playing.
Yeah. But he was like, I'm ready. If we're doing this, I'm ready.
So Carragher had to go 0 to 60, like straight.
I know it's honestly, it's so interesting watching those dynamics.
I wish that BT would do at least something along those lines. I don't know, but I mean, if anyone who watched Villa at Everton, which was a bad enough game as it was, without Rio and Joe Cole and
I like Joe Cole. Do you not like Joe Cole?
What are they talking about? Like, Rio's wearing tracksuit bottoms and slip-on shoes.
I didn't see.
And they're on the pitch. I mean, sorry, the fashion probably isn't the most important part, but like...
Can we get Rio's wearing tracksuit bottoms put into this thing?
And slip-on shoes.
Yeah.
Do you not like Joe Cole?
They're so boring. They're not doing anything. Right. They're not doing anything. Like, they did the only thing I remember even from watching the entire coverage was they did the halftime analysis of how Decore wasn't doing the right job as part of a 3-man centre-back team, and Decore was playing midfield.
Right.
So...
Didn't really grab you. And do you not like Joe Cole, no?
Well, I don't... It's like... no, is the truth. Like, what has Joe Cole ever said that's been in any way interesting or memorable?
Don't put me on the spot, but I just think in general terms. There's some text in. Lads, what about Forest? Proper Premier League ground was great to see. Yeah, I liked it. It was really good. It was really good actually having Forest back in the City ground.
The atmosphere was brilliant at that game.
Yeah, genuinely.
I found that more interesting than the majority of Spurs and Chelsea.
Did you?
Spurs and Chelsea got really good as it went on.
Stop.
I did, yeah, no, that's just, you know.
More.
I'd seen that game before.
Someone says more tangents, less linear discussion, please. I know, I feel like we're a touch too organised today. Redknapp was making no sense at all, lads. He was actually agreeing with Neville but didn't realise it. I thought he was making a very good point. He was saying we can't just excuse this manager and these players just because the ownership model is bad. That actually this team is still better than they're showing. I thought that's totally fair.
Yeah, I know, but there was times when he was kind of... Neville was saying, you know, look, it's about recruitment. It's about the owners. They're not putting in the right football people. And Neville and Redknapp would come in and goes, it's nonsense, Gary. Sure, they don't have anybody doing scouting, and they don't have any recruitment issue. You know what I mean? So he's like, and Neville was kind of going, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, fair enough. We got to take a short break. 5316 is our text number. Let me update you on the Liverpool game. 32 minutes on the clock and still 0-0 at Anfield. We're back. Just wondering should Ginny Weasley have made the cut for the Sting, but that's a whole other show. Mick McCarthy's here.
I feel like we should start broadcasting our ad breaks in this slot. Yeah.
Arthur O'D is here. Ronan Mullen's here. I'm here as well. Liverpool have just gone 1-0 down. 1-0 down.
Thing.
34. Oh, 34. What is a beautiful thing?
Yeah.
You're anti-Liverpool. They're our only hope of a title race.
You're not listening to our conversation last week, Arthur?
Wilfred Zaha with the goal. Sorry, go on.
This is something I've been thinking about for a while. So I grew up a Man United fan, right? That's fine. That's everything else. That's there.
This is a hell of a tangent from where I was going to take us, but go on.
I'll be very quick about this. I take more enjoyment out of watching Liverpool lose than watching Man United win at the minute.
Who do you support?
Man United, like, typically.
Huh? It's the end of this slot. Luckily, they're all watching the match.
You're a United fan.
Yeah, and nominally, like when you wager into it, and if you ask to give me deep down,
and you prefer watching Liverpool lose than United winning.
Yeah, it's a weird way it's gone. Because fandom generally kind of fades. I find as you get older.
I think that's.
But hatred grows.
I find the hatred maintains.
That's weird. Do you know one thing I don't really get? I
like Liverpool, just for the record.
See, I'm a United fan.
Who do you dislike?
Growing up.
You dislike Man United. Have you taken some sort of glee in watching Man United now?
I hate Man
Same
United.
thing. It's the exact same thing.
Lads, we're alienating half the country's football fans.
Them both back.
We're
cancelled each other out.
Different opinions.
Do you not find it's weird? So we're supporting these teams over here.
Yeah.
And like the reason Liverpool and United hate each other, okay, they're sort of rivals for the best team traditionally in football, but it's like the proximity, the location.
People who say Manx and Scousers, is that kind of what you mean?
Yeah, and sort of like the reason Arsenal and Spurs hate each other is because their fan bases grow up next door to each other and it's a rivalry.
Yeah.
Do you not think it's weird when like John, the Arsenal fan in Longford, is like, I hate Spurs so much.
But so it's John, my Liverpool neighbour, that I dislike. I've not that problem with the club. Do you know what I mean? I've no problem with Jurgen Klopp.
So that's more of it. There's lots of Liverpool fans that you grew up with and you hated them. You know, I get that.
I think it's okay with Liverpool and United in Ireland, actually, because I think that in a similar way as like Everton and Liverpool grow up in the same houses, they do here too with Liverpool and United fans. But in me hating Birmingham City,
yes, that's daft.
like, you know, it kind of is. Yeah. Now, if I was going to Villa every week, or if I was a regular there, or I had lived in Birmingham, you can kind of, you know, maybe.
But it's not like, I can't face work in the morning with the Birmingham fans.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, they're usually bottom of the championship.
It's like, the bragging rights. Do you know?
Yeah.
But I do think actually...
But you do get into that a little bit. Like when they were in the Premier League when I was young, like you did buy into it a little bit, like in a kind of a stupid way, but it's for the want of what everybody else has.
Yeah.
But it's not, it's based on nothing. It's total nonsense,
Now that you say it, I agree with you on the Man United Liverpool thing, because here...
It was like so many.
You were in school, it was like a derby, Liverpool fans, United fans. Graeme Souness released a statement through Sky. Interestingly, you suspect they were trying to put this thing to an end to PA, and so he's saying of the men's game comment, to clarify my comments from yesterday, I was referring to the 2 Premier League matches I watched live on Sunday afternoon rather than the sport of football. Football is a game for everyone to enjoy. I never anticipated he was going to apologise Souness, because I suspect he thinks there's no need for an apology. Curious for your thoughts. I was making the point on the news round that the extremes here are both wrong. So on the one hand, you've a bunch of people going, this is woke culture gone mad, that he can't say this. Simon Jordan on TalkSport this morning was saying, you know, this does a disservice to the cause to be bringing up these minor issues and trying to develop a culture war out of them. And there's zero case to answer here. Everybody grow up and get on with it. And then on the other hand, you have people saying he's a disgrace. And you have like current English internationals, female internationals saying he is a disgrace. You have people saying misogynist, get rid of him. They're both wrong, I would put it to you. Like, there is something of a case to answer for. I don't know what you guys thought. I thought when he said it, it's a man's game with Karen Kearney there, who has over 100 caps for England. I thought, that jars.
Yeah,
it did jar.
And on TalkSport this morning, he was asked about what he said, and he explained what he meant. Nobody has a problem with what he said in terms of what it meant. Everybody understands instantly what it meant about wanting to see more aggressive football. It's just the language saying it's a man's game as a way of communicating it. But like, he shouldn't be, you know, I guess, dragged over the coals and like career in danger. Both those extremes are wrong. The boring middle majority, I think, anyway, watched it and went, we know what you mean. No, totally know what you mean. You weren't trying to cause offence, but it's probably a little bit jarring to say that, and probably alienating for any female footballer or female viewer. And so the very obvious solution is just a simple, I'll just retire that phrase. And I'll just talk about aggressive football in any number of different ways, and there are countless ways to express that point. And it's like just that simple. It should just be rather than this big culture war and 24 hours of controversy and apologies and statements, shouldn't it just be a simple case of someone saying, yeah, just find a different way of saying it, and him going, yeah, I see what you mean. That isn't the biggest hardship of my life, and then we move on.
It is. I suppose what lends credence to the opposition that there's something, I don't want to say a case to answer, but something, is the fact that Karen Kearney looks dead down the lens of the camera when it happens for about the second time at least, or third. So she felt in the moment to some degree that it was an unusual thing to have happened. Yeah. I do fully agree with you. I don't think, watching it in real time, it was like, that seems odd. Like, of all the weeks, when it's not like there's regularly a female pundit there, but of all the weeks to kind of really double down here on men at it, that was it. But I think the way he acknowledged it is exactly, if he had to acknowledge it at all, how you would expect him to do it.
Now, I think if he continues to use that phrase,
I wouldn't bet against it.
Then
it's a salty enough apology, wasn't it?
Oh, it's not an apology.
Yeah.
Salty enough clarification.
Explain it if you didn't understand.
Like, I suspect, who knows? But I'd say someone in the PR world rang him and said you should apologise, and I suspect he's passed on that opportunity.
I'd say that conversation was shorter than the statement.
But I think
2 words.
If he just internally says, I'll just retire that phrase. I don't need that. It's not an essential phrase to express my point, and I'll just let that drift out to sea. Language evolves all the time. Yeah. Like, I guarantee you, even the most enlightened people now will in 40 years be thinking of a phrase or a piece of language they use that they probably won't use in 40 years. Like, that happens, but it certainly jarred, and I think the easy and simple and conciliatory thing to do is, well, I won't use that phrase anymore. Yeah. It should be that simple.
I just wish that we had a little bit more of a calm reaction to these things and realise that people say things that, like, might not mean offence and are just, like, possibly old-fashioned or out-of-date ways of saying things that aren't actually the end of the world. And I think the only way you can judge whether that's a problem or not is if somebody refuses to accept, doesn't take what you've said there, and just say, right, actually, do you know what? I shouldn't be saying that. That's a stupid way of putting it. That's not, that's not helpful in the current circumstances. I won't do it anymore. Without taking responsibility and making yourself out to be this monster, apologising for just something, for a phrase that has been said, let's face it, for Souness's entire life.
Yeah.
Up until very, very recently, nobody would have batted an eyelid at him saying that about a men's game.
It is a figure of speech. Like, it's something that's probably spilled out of his mouth, and he was so invigorated, you could tell by the game he just watched, and it was so in his wheelhouse that he just maybe got carried away. I don't think he was actively choosing those words, and I think he summed it up well there. Like, there's people are hurriedly keen to take a position on everything, and this is kind of something that resolved itself quite quickly. And without the Souness statement, I think there was an understanding that people had concluded this is how it panned out, and he wasn't actively trying to denigrate the sport, because, like, tune into any boxing broadcast, you're likely to hear the word machismo or mano a mano, and there's no denigration of what Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano served up, which most boxing fans would tell you is the fight of the year. That's not to suggest that those terms you're actively using those terms in that kind of way. So I think, as you said, the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle on this one.
Do you not think that people coming out though with anger and saying, like, he's a disgrace, he's whatever, would only feed the idiots who come down on the other side of that with the extreme of football's for men anyway, so we shouldn't have women on the panel, they don't know anything about the game, all this kind of crap. It just gives another reason for all these people to come out with their bullshit.
This world gone mad.
Because if they have all these opinions and want to say them, but they need this kind of, like, woke culture excuse to jump on something. And I just think it brings out extremism whenever something like this, which is, like, again, call out stuff when it's wrong. Don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting we never say anything because it brings out the idiots on Twitter, but when something is, like, basically no more than a slip of the tongue, or, again, not a slip of the tongue's the wrong word, but using an expression that he's used all his life, not realising that it is no longer acceptable. But it's not. Exactly.
Yeah, but I don't think we're saying, there's no case to answer for whatsoever, and I can't even understand how anyone would have an issue with this. Yeah. That's wrong as well. Like, there is, but it's a minor issue. It's let's just retire that phrase. Yeah. That's all.
I think you shouldn't be writing angry columns calling out Tyrone Mings. That'd be my biggest issue with Graeme Souness.
Well, that is a slight tangent. Lads, how can you blame the manager when the players can't even do the basics? I presume this is about Man United. It's like, I love a good analogy. It's like a new postmaster coming in. I've no idea where it's going.
Come on, read it out though. Neither does the listener.
It's like a new postmaster coming in. I want your honest verdicts on this analogy.
Is a postmaster just someone who runs a post office?
Yeah, wasn't entirely sure.
Okay.
Top dog in the post office?
Yeah.
It's like a new postmaster coming in, designing a great new system, and then all the postmen, or women, can't even match the numbers of us. Can't even match the numbers
to the letters on the door.
To the letters on the door. There was a typo in that as well.
There is. To make everything worse. I don't know if we got the full value of that analogy in the end, Joe.
It's a bad read on my part, sorry.
Well, the typos didn't help.
United's pain is a great source of comedy and entertainment for others. Conor Moore's Keane, Souness, Carragher, Neville talking about United, or Harry Maguire talking after Brentford is wonderful stuff. Caught your conversation about the likelihood of the media forgetting about Brentford's achievement on Saturday and focusing on United's demise. You then proceeded to do just that, focusing on Ronaldo, Maguire and our short centre-back. As part of the media, does that not make you...
Short centre-back.
A name.
As part of the media...
Doesn't even deserve to be
Does
named.
that not make you part of the problem you just described?
Yes.
Says Cormac. No, Cormac. I was saying it's disingenuous when media say, oh, we shouldn't forget Brentford. I was absolutely being honest and saying we're going to completely forget about Brentford.
Okay, but a slight tangent.
Yeah.
We get called out for something like this almost every week on this slot.
Yeah, but
and most of the time it is true.
Yeah, but my point there was we're not going to do the whole.
In this case, fine.
We should talk about Brentford,
but we're absolutely hypocrites.
I don't agree.
In general.
We're not. Are we hypocrites?
You know, everyone's a hypocrite, though. Like, you know, it's just sometimes we're having to go with media while doing very similar things.
I do feel bad about that. I don't want this to become a media slot. My brother is a Liverpool fan. I hate seeing them win. Love it when they lose. Once laughed in my poor nephew's face when they lost to City in the League Cup final.
I hope the nephew is like 5.
Is Micah Richards' sole purpose to provide a laugh track? He adds nothing to the analysis. He makes Red Knapp look like an expert's his own, who takes the two of them down there.
I feel that's just a knock on to the fact of City. You have to have some sort of City person there.
Yeah.
And
I do think
it's not been relevant long enough.
There is a bit of a danger though with Richards. I was watching Match of the Day on Saturday. Did you see it? Did you guys watch Match of the Day?
No.
Okay.
It's taped. It's on my. It's on my DVR, like all the other episodes of Match of the Day that
I'd be curious to know what you think, because I feel Match of the Day too often is like whoever won was brilliant and whoever lost was terrible, Gary. And I suspect that's a consequence of them not being able to watch the games fully. It's always whoever won, great. Whoever lost, terrible. And even their packages for me lack nuance, because Micah Richards did a package on Gabriel Jesus for Arsenal doing his thing, and it was just like picking out all his good moments and like, he's so great, this is a complete success, this is an amazing signing, can't say enough good things, good, 10 out of 10. But like, the truth of that game is Jesus missed about 3 to 4 really good chances, and like, that's his fundamental problem. That's the reason Jesus hasn't prospered in the game the way he might have hoped, is that he misses chances. And yet if you just watch the highlights, or just watch the package, you'd think, oh my God, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 performance. But actually, what should have been pointed out as well is, it must be said though, there's going to come games where he only gets 1 or 2 chances and he has a propensity to miss them. And I just thought it was very basic. I often have that problem with that coverage.
I see what you mean. I also think though that there's too much of an expectation on strikers to take every chance they have, or else they haven't done a good job. Like, you know, the fact is that Gabriel Jesus got about 6 chances in that game, scored 2. I think he was unlucky not to get a third, you know.
But
it's just an ongoing kind of conversation about, like, you know, 20-goal strikers, and that don't exist even in the modern game. And like, I mean, I think Haaland had 5 touches in the first half, yes. You know, and we're talking about him dominating this league. True. The game, Lukaku, we spoke about earlier, you know, wandering around up front. The game isn't coming to number 9s the way it used to. And to be honest, I would be delighted if I was an Arsenal fan with how Jesus has started. I know what you mean, but every striker missed chances. Like,
no, I accept that.
So I don't know if it necessarily needs to be. Maybe that proviso line that you just mentioned.
That was too glowing. That was like greatest thing ever.
Similar analysis of Chelsea post-match, where were it not for a somewhat fortuitous equaliser for Spurs, Chelsea would have won that game, and deservedly so. And they're like, oh, if they just had a number 9, they would have ran away with that game. But would they have played with the same fluency and fluidity in the final third if they had a stationary number 9 of the Lukaku? Like, Raheem Sterling didn't score yesterday, but he was centrally involved in everything they did. Kai Havertz just seems to have forgotten how to finish. He's doing everything else quite well. Yeah. So you wonder if this stuck, like a Aubameyang, who they're being linked with, if you stuck him there, does that solve all that ails them? I'm not sure it does, and you get the impression that that's the kind of analysis that will happen.
Mano a mano is a misused term. Is an interesting text from Bill and Mullen. Thanks for the text, Bill. Translated, it is Latin for hand by hand, as in combat, not man to man.
Yeah.
So God, I'd always thought it was man to man.
No, someone else saying it's like not gendered as well. It means hand.
It's like manicure.
I suppose McKee's was probably more like the gender specific one, whereby the implication is that only men can ascend to this level of brutality or violence or technical skill, even in most cases. There's
going to be lots of language that we're going to have to think about how, like, all of us use, especially in sports broadcasting. Like, we will often say, oh, so and so had cojones or balls, I guess. Increasingly, you know, is grit the preserve of men? No. So, like, just stuff like that, you have to just have to think and catch yourself, and that's no great hardship on our part. Lads, is one of the hardest midfielders that ever played. Do you think Souness was just enjoying a game that he would have loved to play in Niall Tella? Oh yeah. Like, I think Souness and Keane are looking at this going, this is a game I recognise. This is where my strengths would be to the fore. Absolutely. I didn't mean that was for us to talk about football the whole time.
Sure, what else is there at this time of year, Joe?
Well, I was going to ask, I don't think we've time now, do we?
What were you going to ask?
Oh, we've 5 minutes. Pizzas, we've 5 minutes. Just there was a piece yesterday which came up in the Sunday papers about the club championship, and it was a piece in the Mail on Sunday, and it was basically saying, like, the GAA have fought very hard for this split season, and now the club championship is here. The GAA are doing nothing to promote it. You go onto GAA.ie, for instance, and it doesn't have the club fixtures up in a kind of accessible way, and it was almost saying, well, like, if we don't prop this thing up, it's never going to take off. And I probably disagreed with it, really. Like, the only big suggestion in it was maybe realistically that the GAA website does a better job in the fixtures. My sense is the club championship, I increasingly I really support the split season, but I think ultimately club level GAA is a participation sport. It's just never going to capture the imagination of a national audience unless, like, a Clifford is playing in a game, or there's maybe a handful of exceptional players. If they're playing, you'll say, well, I'll watch this game. But in the main, the majority of people are just not going to care. And I think putting this pressure, it's probably a media thing, because we want stuff to talk about, and we want, we have to fill our slots with GAA talk. But I think putting this pressure on the club game to, like, rise up and be promoted and reach out and grab everyone, I think it's a good idea. Like, it just should be celebrated for what it is, which is local in the extreme, until maybe you get to...
It's almost like the League of Ireland
stages.
It's kind of a little bit like the League of Ireland, that same sort of thing, whereas, like, we're used to this exact game being played at a far higher standard, and we watch it all the time, and you can't necessarily just substitute. I think it's a nonsense, the idea that you could, like, even the proposition that the club game could have a national interest is so far-fetched. It's just, I think it's nonsense. I think that it should not be at all a focus. It's not worth it. Like, it's not, like, it's just so far from even, like, the thing. And I'm not, like, again, everyone, it's so easy to always kind of say, like, the stuff that we could have and that we don't bother entertaining at all, like Diamond League and athletics. We don't show it, but there's so much that we could fill that time
World
with.
Championships in athletics.
We don't need club games in the national calendar, I think, at all. I don't think it's, I personally don't think it's necessary.
For sure, the All-Ireland final and maybe the semi-finals and those stages, but
I don't think there's anything wrong with them being available to people. I watched a good bit of the Wexford.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Like, the streams are
but
great.
Like this critique that, like, the GAA need to promote these and make these bigger.
Yeah, no,
I'd
I'd actually agree with you. I don't agree that the club game is a participating sport. I think that
is it participating sport?
I don't agree that it's only for the participants involved, that it's sort of this thing that's been catered for the players. I mean, the club game in the locality where the club game is being played, if you want to consider the participant the village or the town, then fine, I would agree with you. I don't think there's a wider national interest. I think people who are interested anyway, it's great that it is available. It's great the Wexford final was on TG Carter yesterday. It's great that you can stream all these games. It's great that I can watch the Clare Hurling Championship, with a pay TV basically, and that I can follow it along that way. Huge interest, but that interest is our own. It doesn't need to be promoted. It's there anyway. Like, I remember someone telling me before, when there was this, like, one of the many kind of, like, Brawley, Spillane, O'Rourke sort of, like, spend an hour after an All-Ireland semi-final talking about how the game was dead and the game wouldn't survive this. I remember talking to a person who was like, if there was never an inter-county game again, Gaelic football would remain as strong as it ever was, because it doesn't need to be this beautiful fair for it to matter to my town and to the town near me and to the town next to me. And that is why the club game is genuine. It's actually not an exaggeration, and it's not nonsense to say that it is the heart and soul of the game. And again, it's not just for the players playing.
Yeah.
But you're 100% right in everything else, I think. That's all it needs.
Yeah, we shouldn't put this pressure on it.
What does that matter to anyone? Like, why does a game that mattered to me at the weekend necessarily have to matter for you for it to matter at all?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And I just think, yeah, look, I think I agree with you on that. I think about the split season is, like, I did feel a bit robbed of inter-county fair, because I do watch that as a neutral, and I watch all those games, and you build up to a season, and it felt like it was taken away a little bit middle of July. It was far too early. But actually, in the grand scheme of things, I think we do need to make sure that we are looking after the members and of the organisation and the players. And I'm come around to it totally, I do. But while still like willing to listen to arguments, but the idea that the club championship is happening in this vacuum and all it needs is the GEA to kind of put out a few ads, like, I don't get it. I really don't see the point.
Although you were saying the Armagh Championship's not starting until September.
Yeah, like there are little elements like that where the split season, as you've alluded to, it's accommodating the vast majority of the playing population, those who don't get to intercounty level, who haven't been able to plan their lives for their entire playing careers. So that's one thing. We were never trying to get it to ascend to a level of parity with the intercounty game. Nobody ever foresaw that. I don't see why people are banging the drum to that end. And people who say the club game is better than the county game, there are reasons for that, but they're emotive. They're not necessarily playing standard. And I think everybody can accept those points if you look at it coldly. But yeah, like there's drawbacks like the fact that you've got this increasingly allotted time, and yet championships like the Armagh Championship, the proper championship doesn't get underway until September, which seems like
against the whole point of
a doomed start, like for something that is supposed to be more, I don't know, more space for these games. But like, I like the idea of the club championship, the interwoven nature of it, and it's not unique to Gaelic games. Like you see it in America with, like, high school football means as much to people there as the Super Bowl does. But nobody's suggesting the two games are of equal billing.
But what is unique is that Star will play both the Super Bowl and the high school game.
Yeah, which is cool.
Which only happens in Ireland. Really.
Just want to touch on this text before I go.
So do I.
Dave and Meath. Dave, I don't know, either you weren't listening or we weren't clear, but definitely you've misinterpreted our meaning. So, lads, do you have any idea how out of touch you sound when you talk about the club game basically not being that important? Plenty of other sport to cover. Put your self-interest aside. I genuinely don't know how you took that point from what we're saying. We're saying we're in support of the split season. I don't want to speak for everyone on the panel, but I think
it's hugely important.
We think it's massively important. We think it's massively important to each town and team. We're just saying it may not garner national attention, as in each game may not garner national attention, and that there shouldn't be a pressure on the club game to step into that breach and be in the national pages, and that we don't have to put a pressure on a club game to be promoted to the sense as getting 250,000 viewers. But like for the towns that we're all from, like I played club football, the club game, like the reason we're supporting the split season is we think the fact that it's been done for participation reasons is wonderful. So I don't know, you may have misheard us or we may not have expressed it brilliantly, but I mean, if you think we're saying the club game isn't important, we're saying the opposite.
Up the club.
Who's Ireland's, on Jamie Clark, most versatile, most talented sports person?
As we're out of time.
Yeah. Kevin Moran.
Kevin Moran.
Can't think of anyone but Kevin Moran.
Yeah. Lindsay Pete.
Fellas.
Jason Sherlock.
Jason Sherlock, yeah. A slight tangent is done for another session. It may be back, it may not. We'll see.
Next week's agenda. Paul O'Donovan, Ireland's greatest sportsman.
Oh.
Person.
Are you're in there?
See what I did there?
Yeah.
By accident.
Ireland's greatest.
One of Ireland's greatest. At least put him in the bloody conversations, for God's sake.
He's got to be in the top 20, doesn't he?
Oh, top 20. He's dominating. He's dominating a world sport in a way that no other Irish person except for Katie Taylor has ever done.
Top 5. That's bigger. Top 5. I don't know.
Who are you knocking out? It'd be interesting to know who you're knocking out.
Yeah, there you go.
Why does anyone have to be out? He's automatically in.
Well, I'm asking you, who do you even out?
Well, sure, I'm not doing a top
we have?
5. I'm just saying that we're out of time.
We're out of time.
Oh, yeah.
Arthur O'D, thank you.
I'd have him ahead of nearly anyone.
Mick McCarthy, thank you.
You would, yeah.
Can't leave it on that, Joe.
Oh. You'd have him number 1.
He's a multiple time Olympic. He's dominating.
Yeah.
One of the bigger sport. What do you mean? Would I have him out?
Pete's having a hernia out there. We got to go.
Okay.
Mick, thank you. Ronan Mullen, thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
We'll pick that up at the next Slight Tangent.